What's up, everybody? Aaron the Dog here, back with Aaron the Dog MMA and another breakdown. We're here to break down UFC Vegas 29-31. Not sure, one of the Vegas cards at this point. I realized I didn't even make a banner this week. It's one of those weeks, but I'm here with we got a fight coming up next week. Bryan, you look really nice and relaxed. For those who don't know, Bryan Battle, Pooh Bear here with me as always, representing Team Volkanovski on The Ultimate Fighter, currently airing on ESPN+. If you haven't watched so far, you can catch up, but next week is the important episode. Bryan will be fighting in his first fight against, is it Kerman?
Cameron, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So basically what I know him from is Bellator fight before this against Kyle Crutchmacher. Very, very good wrestler and very good fighter. Where in the second or third round, he just put his hands down, started yelling, took like 3 or 4 shots, and ended up winning the fight. 10-3 guy, though, one of the more experienced guys on the show. For some reason, it was the last pick, I think, just because attitude or possible. I don't really know. That's how they edited it. So, I mean, you were the second to last pick, so they didn't know what they were doing anyways with the picks. Vince Murdoch this past week got the quick knockout. I've talked with Vince before. His story is amazing. So I know it's a Team Volkanovski loss, but still, I'm not going to hate on Vince. He's a great dude.
You can't hate on Vince. All the fighters, for the most part, are pretty chill people, pretty good people on both teams. I will say, as far as the fights, they're about to start getting saucier. That's a fact. And the man drama. If you're someone into man drama, not that there's this season compared to other seasons, there's not a whole lot of man drama, but this is kind of like where things kind of start picking up. You know what I'm saying? It's seeming like it's going to get pretty saucy.
It's a Pooh Bear episode on Tuesday. If you're not watching it and you're watching this right now, you can just click off this because I don't feel like sharing my information on these bets with you.
100%. 100%. Come on.
Yeah, we've come a long way already, and I remember our first breakdown back in the day, and you just like picked up on it quickly, and you were just like all over it. Said it's actually in some ways improved and sharpened your game in some instances. So that is definitely, first of all, really humbling to hear, and I will be taking a lot of credit for your career from here on forward. So just know that. But seriously, I mean, I feel I get sharper hearing from you. I think this is some really good. We come at these fights from a similar perspective, yet very different. So I'm glad to hear it's made me a better analyst working with you. So we've helped each other in that way. So it's definitely, Chico is going to definitely support the love, as always, but it's Aaron the Dog. Yep. He's only dealt with like 1,000 streams at this point to know when to bark and when not to. So, but yeah, we got definitely a good card. Every card's great. The main event, though, for this one especially, I got circled. I've had it circled since it was announced. Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov. I think this is a hell of a heavyweight fight. Depending on how it ends, it could be the next title contender. So yeah, overall, it isn't. I'm not sure what word I want to use to describe this card. This is a tricky card for sure from a betting and perspective. But I've heard a lot of people say that, and then they're like, I'm going to back off. I'm going to pick my spots, but I feel good with several reads on this card. It is a close card, and that means better odds, less risky parlays, maybe some props as well. So I just think that people aren't giving this card enough love. But what else is new? It's back at the Apex. That's definitely one thing I want to mention. It's also starting at 1 p.m. Eastern time, so it's an early start time.
I missed that.
Yeah,
1 p.m. Eastern time. That's such a weird.
I mean the prelims. The prelims start at 1. Main card by 4. I'm not a huge fan of when they do this, honestly. And obviously you aren't. You're going to be doing work. So it's just, I mean, I will put my training aside and watch it at 1 p.m. Bong rips a little earlier in the morning for me, so I'll just.
Well, I mean, it's kind of lame because it's like you said. I mean, this card is tricky it has some like low key names on it. Where if you're a hardcore fan, you'll like recognize some names that have been around the game for a long time. But there's a lot of really competitive fights on here. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be really like if you're a fight fan and you just enjoy watching good fights, this card has the potential to have a lot of good fights, like from the top to the bottom. So it has. If you like watching fights, this could be a fun one. If you like making bets, I can see how you'd be nervous. But
it's definitely one that you got to pick your spots. But we got 13 fights on the card, and the reason I don't love it being at 1 o'clock, being at this weird time, we're gonna have less eyes on this card. And I mean, we've got Cyril Gane here, who, if he wins this fight, could be really elevated, but no one's going to see him fight at this time. Similar to a few other guys. I mean, it's like, I get you're willing to waste Ovince St. Preux, Tanner Boser heavyweight fight. I understand that. No one needs to see that. And it's the co-main event for some reason. Raoni Barcelos, though, and we'll talk about a lot of these guys, but Raoni Barcelos, I don't think most people know him. I don't think most people know how good he is. He's 16-1, and he's 34. It's like, you gotta start showcasing this guy who's making his like 5th, 6th UFC fight. So it's just some weird decisions from the UFC occasionally here, for sure. And I mean, they're trying something out here, but I just don't think the daytime card makes sense. We also should be having a PFL on right now in the background as I'm going. But instead, PFL decided to go up against Bellator tomorrow night. So for some reason, PFL has been doing Thursday nights, they decide to go on Friday night when there's a Bellator. So every organization in MMA is an absolute mess when it comes to marketing. LFA doesn't put out their weigh-in photos. They don't put up odds until the last second. But anyways, we're going to get into the fights here. Start on the prelims in the lightweight division. Yancy Medeiros versus Damir Hadzovic. This is a fight that was scheduled from about a month ago. Apparently, the UFC really wants these guys to fight for some reason. I mean, it was scheduled from a month ago because Hadzovic had health issues. So a month later, he's back fighting, whatever the health issues were. Definitely being familiar with kind of the struggle and everything. I think a lot of times these health issues have ended up being food poisoning, not necessarily COVID or whatever when they do put this health issue thing. So maybe it was just, if it's food poisoning a month later, it's not a big deal. But yeah, Damir Hadzovic, 13-6, the Bosnian bomber, 5'9", 70-inch reach, 34 years old at this point, on a 2-fight losing streak, got rear naked choked by Moicano inside a minute, got dominated pretty thoroughly wrestling-wise by Christos Diagos. His wins have come against Marcin Held, where he was losing that fight for 2 rounds before he landed a knee on an Imonari roll. So, I mean, he got it, but that can't expect that to happen too many times. Did knock out Polo Reyes, which was before Polo Reyes was fully dust. And he got a split decision win over Nick Hine, who retired right after that. So, yeah, not the best level of wins here. And Yancy Medeiros, I get it, 15-7. We got 15-7 versus 13-6. You don't see that too often in the UFC, first of all.
Especially in the men's divisions, too.
Yeah. These are some female records, I agree. And 33 years old. He's younger than Hadzovic, which I definitely found interesting. Has a significant reach advantage of 6.5 inches, even though he's 5 and he's only 2 inches taller, but 6.5-inch reach. He is on a 3-fight losing streak, but Donald Cerrone, Gregor Gillespie. So okay. Lando Venata, I do think Lando Venata would school Hadzovic if he was still at 55. Venata at 45 has looked pretty good also. And Venata's had good moments. So
I love Venata's one of those, and we're not talking about Venata, so I'm not going to go on a tangent here. I just got to say it because I love Venata, but he frustrates me to no end. And I don't think his last fight was a split decision either. I thought he won that
No.
at least 2 rounds to 1. But
no, these split decisions just happen, and that's why you really got to either go back and look at the fights or just kind of, look more into them because I agree. That was a really good performance by Lando, and I think 45 is where he belongs.
yeah.
But, yeah, Yancey has wins over guys at 170 mostly. That's the thing. He was at 155 at another point in his career, but that's where I'm kind of confused here. Don't really know what to think. I mean, his last fight out, last few fights out at 155, all 3 of them have not looked great. He hasn't won since moving back down from welterweight. He's getting a little older. And we do have our stats here from our statistician. 5th shortest average fight time in the lightweight division for Yancey, and 4th most knockdowns. So definitely carries some power. Overall, I did look at the odds for this one. I'll give my pick in a minute. What are your thoughts kind of overall on the fight?
Dude, I tell you what, Yancey, he's been around for a while. I mean, if you just look at the people he's fought like a great, he's lost 3 in a row, but like you said, I mean, granted his last loss was not the most stellar person, but I mean, you're talking about Gillespie, Cerrone, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
If you're gonna lose, I mean, those are some like good names.
Yeah, his other losses were to Poirier and Francisco Trinaldo also.
Yeah, it's like those guys are killers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Yancey has shown the ability to be a killer. And so I'm taking Yancey in this fight. I don't think he gets a finish. I think he gets a decision, but I see it being it's good. I feel like it's going to be competitive, but I think Yancey wins it cleanly, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I also think that the big difference is the reach advantage and the volume from Yancey.
Yeah.
I think both should be. I get that Demir has very good defense here, as Brandon is mentioning here, but the thing is, Demir hasn't landed more than I think like 75 significant strikes in a fight. He just doesn't throw a whole lot. That held fight, he was losing 2 rounds to none before he landed that knee. For whatever reason, Held decided to Imanari roll to start out the 3rd round up 2 rounds to none. But yeah, I like Yancey quite a bit. I was pretty surprised when I saw the odds, especially considering Hadzovic was the one to pull out a month ago due to health reasons. So if this is something that's more than like a food poisoning, we don't know what it is, but if it is a potential health issue, I mean, that could have kept him from training for a minute. And I mean, either way, doesn't make me favorite of 13-6 older Hadzovic, who's faced worse competition and hasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I get Marcin Held's a decent win, but still, I like Yancey Medeiros plus 125. I think that's a great way to start out. A card like this where it's a lot of uncertainty, I think this is a dog that should be a favorite. And Yancey needs this one more than Demir also. Like, I think Yancey's going to come out and bang.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's weird that, Yancey has more experience. He's younger, bigger.
Way better level of competition.
Way better level of competition. I mean, to me, it's like that seems like an easy bet to me all day.
Yeah, on a card where it's difficult to find spots, you got a dog early on that you like and I like. We're going to agree here. We got Yancey Medeiros out of Hawaii, the younger Yancey Medeiros. Hadzovic is almost 35 years old. He's a month and 2 weeks out of 35.
And I'll give him credit. When I first saw him, I thought he was like upper 20s. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he doesn't really come across as a 35-year-old, but good for him, I guess.
Yeah, good skincare routine. So
yeah, whatever he's doing is working.
Yeah. Bosnian, you know what they say, Bosnian don't crack.
Yes, sir.
Next up, we got.
I was the only one who ever heard of that, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's around my neighborhood too. We have a lot of Bosnians. Next up, 145. We got the featherweights here. Justin James actually joined Brandon and I on the Bellator and PFL breakdown yesterday. Shout out to Brandon for having the gall to ask a fighter on fight week to come on. And shout out to Justin for wanting to come on. Justin came on his way to the Apex for media. Looked very relaxed. Looked in great shape. This is his first UFC fight and 4 UFC fights where he's going to have an actual camp. The longest he had a camp before this for a fight was a little over 2 weeks. So in 3 fights in the UFC, that's some crazy shit. He took his UFC debut on 2 days' notice against Frank Camacho and blitzed him, knocked him out pretty quickly. And then since then, he's went on a little bit of a skid, 3 straight losses to be exact for the Guitar Hero Justin James, but I'll get to that in a second. 31 years old, 5'7", Richmond, Michigan. Went to Olivet. I went to Central Michigan. We talked about that. But yeah, he's definitely a Michigan MMA product. Last Michigan MMA product I gave my blessing to was Jamal Hill. That turned out great for Jamal. We don't need to talk about that.
We don't need to talk about that. It's too soon. Too soon.
Yeah, wacky inflatable arm tomb band. We got Justin James here out of Extreme Couture, and honestly, if you could like just embody Extreme Couture into one fighter, I would say like Justin James kind of makes sense. Stocky wrestler with hands. Probably should go to his wrestling more than he does. Uses his hands more than he should. That kind of sums up Justin James, if I'm being perfectly honest here. He's got good wrestling, but he's yet to land a takedown in 4 UFC fights, which is definitely concerning. He's 0 for 3 in 4 fights, so not really going from too much. Got finished by Gavin Tucker in round 3. That was a decent fight for sure. Then got pretty dominated against Gabriel Benitez, Mowgli, who finished him with a knee to the body. And then Devontae Smith. This was another one that was pretty troubling. Got pieced up throughout the fight and taken down and kind of dominated on the ground by Devontae Smith. So definitely Justin James needs to be on top for his grappling and wrestling to be effective. But, I mean, we saw the power against Frank Camacho. He definitely has had power throughout his career. Very big finisher for the most part. Guillotine chokes and punches. And he's taking on a guy who on the feet is one of the more pedestrian strikers, I think, in the UFC overall. If I had to put it a certain way, Charles Rosa, Boston strong. He's definitely strong in grappling. 34 years old now. 5'9", 69 inch reach, so pretty similar reach. Both guys are smaller for the division. He's coming off the loss to Derek Minner, where Derek Minner usually goes in there and gets that first round, second round finish. He dominated him to a decision. It was Derek Minner's first fight with Glory MMA, so it looks like maybe moving to have more professional camp, having a full fight camp for Minner also, he mentioned, makes a difference. So that could make a huge difference for Justin James, I think, in this fight. I mean, I know that throughout Rosa's career, he's alternating wins, losses, wins, losses, win, losses. So he started with a loss, got a win, loss throughout. So he's coming off a loss here. So the pattern says he gets the win against Justin James. I think there's a good chance that he just kind of dominates the grappling here and makes it kind of a boring fight. And just kind of cruises to a decision. Justin is going to, I anticipate, just have more gas, but kind of fight a similar type of approach I've seen so far. And it's hard for me to kind of pick against that until I see otherwise. If Justin can get the better of the wrestling and get on top, I don't think Rosa threatens from the bottom. I get he submitted Manny Bermudez with an armbar, but Bermudez was dealing with a whole bunch of mental shit at that point, missed weight by like 6 pounds. Like, there's a whole bunch of things with Manny that I could get onto with another podcast, to be honest. So, because that's one of the best talents to be lost from the UFC, in my opinion, in the last 5 to 10 years.
Ooh, hot take. I like it. Very nice.
Bermudez Triangle was a thing, man. And then all of a sudden, it just, you got a taste of the lifestyle. It happens. You got to stay hungry once you get here. I wouldn't know. I never got there. But either way, I've been back and forth on this one. I'm gonna unfortunately but side with Charles Rosa just ever so slightly. I see his grappling being superior, and if he's on top, I think Justin's going to have a lot of trouble like we've seen it so far. But if Justin can get those takedowns or go for them, I would love to see it because I think the wrestling is the route here. But on the feet, I think also Justin has an advantage. I just think Rosa has more of an advantage on the ground, and just he's crafty. Win-loss coming off a loss. I'm going to edge Rosa just barely, but I hope I'm wrong. I'm not betting it.
Now, man, I hear you 110%, and it's tough because, like you said, Justin James, with this fight, I knew the Frank Camacho fight was something he literally took on, like, wasn't that on days' notice? That wasn't even like weeks' notice. That was like a couple days' notice, wasn't it? Am I
2 days
wrong on
notice.
That? 2 days notice. Okay. And you know, it's like the fact that all of these fights have been on short notice kind of sucks, but it's like that's what we have to go off of. You know what I'm saying? It's like even though the it's not the best situation necessarily, it's still a 3-fight losing streak. And Rosa is a vet, man. Like, I mean, I don't know if like you get more veteran than Rosa. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he's ever striking anybody as someone who's challenging for a title, you know what I'm saying? But he's also, you know, someone who can kind of, you know, hang around in the UFC for a long time.
He's never had a losing streak in the UFC.
And that's the big deal. I mean, he's never had a winning streak in the UFC, but he's never had a losing streak either. So yeah.
I'm a glass half full type of guy.
Yeah. But you know, and you know, I know we're only 2 fights in. This is kind of making me feel uncomfortable, but I'm going with Rosa too. Rosa by decision. Yeah, I know. We're
wow,
2
agreements.
On the same page. This is crazy.
Yeah, two agreements. But I'll adjust. But I'm a little concerned here that you're not feeling right. But Charles Rosa, a -165 favorite. I'm not hating that price if you do want to bet that. I mean, he really has shown kind of he can beat this level of an opponent. I don't know. Like, I don't think that's the worst price in the world. Plus 140 on Justin James. I don't hate that, but go ahead and juice it up to James by KO because that's how I think he wins this fight. Yeah. Most likely, even though I want to see him wrestle, that's because I want to see him win, but I think most likely he goes out and if he can land some bombs. But I don't believe Rosa has been finished by strikes by anybody except Shane Burgos in the 3rd round, and that was kind of a questionable stoppage. Other than that, Rosa is tough as they come, man.
Yeah, so. Shane Burgos is a savage. And dude, that's one of those weird things about like once dudes like stop wrestling, like once wrestlers come into MMA, they stop wrestling. It's very rare that they actually like go back to their wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Like it's usually like they fall in love with the hands. And you can tell Justin James is falling in love with, throwing hands. It's, more power to him. It might not be the best strategy in the world. I mean, he's clearly, he can crack, but, maybe mixing it up a little bit will help him out.
Yeah, I don't disagree. This is a solid pass. Rosa against Minner is definitely a red flag for sure. And I mean, maybe James with that full camp is a little more aware to use his wrestling. We haven't seen him with a full camp or any real sort of camp in 4 fights in the UFC. So, I mean,
does he want to take Rosa down? It seems like
that's true.
This is like, ironically, of all the fights where he should he shouldn't use his wrestling, it's the one where he got a full fight camp. But
exactly. Yeah, it's an interesting one though. Next fight, 135, the Battle of the Julias. We got Julia and Julia Stolyanko versus Avila. This is one I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on. This is another one they decided to re-rack for some reason. Julia Stolyanko is the girl who kind of fainted she fainted on the scales twice. They let her get up once, and they were like, let's let her fight still. And then she fainted again. They're like, maybe we shouldn't. She claimed it was a good weight cut. in that it was just a later weigh-in, and so she had to kind of be at that diminished state for longer. But either way, that doesn't sound like a great weight cut to me then. But I don't do this. But out of Lithuania, she's a left-way fighter also, so she's fought with her head at points. Left-way is like the bare-knuckle Muay Thai with headbutts allowed.
I low-key love left-way, but at the same time,
I'm not sure how much it helps you in MMA. Definitely didn't seem to help her against Yana Kunitskaya. Yana kind of dominated her.
Kunitskayev. I don't know how to say her name. Keep on going.
Yeah. Kunitskaya. Kunitskaya. Yeah, Mother Russia. Lost to her by unanimous decision. She landed you want to guess how many strikes Julia landed in that fight, Stoliarenko?
Oh, I just remember she got manhandled in that fight. She
did 30-25s.
I remember her being put up against the cage, for the most of it, but 30-25s. That's terrible.
She landed 6 strikes.
That sounds like a that sounds
3
like
rounds.
That sounds like a Kamaev fight, but those only last 2 rounds.
Yeah. So she beat a woman named Yuga in Lethway.
Nice.
By broken nose in 36 seconds. She's definitely known as like an armbar specialist before getting to the UFC, but she attempted no takedowns in her UFC debut. She didn't appear to know what she was doing in there. She looked lost. Not a great weight cut, and now coming back a month or so later. Julia Avila came into the UFC. I was all aboard on Julia. I was like, this girl's awesome. She knocked out Gina Mazzani, though. Yeah. So it's like, you take that worth a grain of salt here. 8-2, 33 years old, was an athlete at Notre Dame, but knocked her out in 22 seconds. I was all aboard. Came in 3 months later against Jara Eubanks, and Eubanks took her down and held her down and kept her down. And Julia just didn't know what she was doing from the bottom at all, really. I mean, when she's definitely a hammer and not used to being the nail, frankly. But I just don't see Julia Stoliarenko threatening her. It's a very inflated price on Avila, so I don't love it, but I'm going to take Avila. So I'm going to keep it short, though. I don't think Stoliarenko is good. Stoliarenko is probably about as good as Gina Mazzani. So, Avila should dominate here. The price is minus 350. I'm not going to bet that on Avila after seeing what happened the last time out, but Sajara is much better than Julia Stoliarenko will ever be.
Well, that's one of those tough things. Like when you have like I don't want to say like a gimmick, but you got like a special move that you just kind of run the regional scene with, and for Julia with the J, like she was murdering people with arm bars, and that's a great weapon to have. The problem is if that's all you show, then that people are going to prepare for that.
And also it works against everybody except when you face a Pani Kiansad or the other fighter she'll face on the Ultimate Fighter or a Yana Kunitskaya. It works against the ones who are in the UFC.
Yeah. It works up until and that's probably why she didn't go for a takedown, because it's something where it's like, that's your signature move, and then people start figuring it out, and it's kind of discourages you from going back to that. Man, I tell you what, this is crazy, and this is really crazy. But yeah, I'm going with the Raging Panda, man. Not because she's blown me away or anything. I just think she's better. That's all. That's the only.
Stoliarenko is real bad, man.
Yeah,
she's not good. It sucks that she's minus 350 because that is like not worth it. If you're busting your parlays on minus 350 on Julia Avila, there's not many people on this card other than like the guys at the top who I'm betting a minus 350 on anyways on this card. But yeah, we agree 3 for 3. I think we can get a disagreement here, but this is a grimy fight. So like whoever gets up on the scorecards here, congrats. Marcin Prachnio taking on Hurricane Ike Villanueva. First of all, Hurricane Ike, kind of an offensive nickname because that's a hurricane that happened and killed and ruined people's lives. But whatever. I don't think Ike gives a fuck. There's
oh, Ike, come on, man. No,
yeah,
Ike.
Ike is
I
18.
don't want any problems.
Ike is 18-11 and looks like he'd beat my ass if he heard me making fun of his nickname. So I should try and shut up. 6'1", 73-inch reach for the light heavyweight, 37 years old. So a little bit stocky for the division. 37, getting up there a little bit. Coming off a win against Vinicius Moreira, though. So rate that as you will. Vinicius Moreira, oh, real bad. Before that, 2 straight losses to start out his UFC career. That one was at heavyweight against Chase Sherman. The other was against Jordan Wright, who up until Jordan Wright's last fight, I was not a Jordan Wright fan. Now I'm a huge Jordan Wright believer, man. Like, I think the dude is legit. And he landed some nasty strikes, opened up a pretty big gash on Ike. Ike claimed he was getting going there, but lost that fight as well. I bet Ike that night, I remember.
Okay.
But yeah, Ike's not, not gonna go in there and, fight conservatively, in my opinion. And Marcin Prachnio, even in his fight, his last fight against Khalil Roundtree, he was winning the fight, but every time Khalil Roundtree connected, it looked like it really, really hurt Marcin Prachnio, who before that had been put away by strikes in 3 straight fights to start out his UFC career. Before that was really good in Ryzen and everything like that. But I just think that Ike's got to get in there and be accurate and land some shots to possibly really put him away early. But Ike is just not very good. Again, I want to go with the dog here really bad because that's Ike. I'm sure it's Ike. I'm actually quite positive Prachnio is like a minus 200 favorite, which is insane to me because, he got knocked out by Sam Alvey. Bad.
Yeah.
He got knocked out by Ankilov. Okay. Got knocked out by slow Mike Rodriguez. Bad. Ike Villanueva is on the level of a Mike Rodriguez. Ike Villanueva, not quite on the level of a Sam Alvey, but maybe on the level of a Sam Alvey at 205, frankly. Marcin Prachnio, minus 200 favorite. Are you crazy? If you're betting that, get yourself help soon.
Yeah.
This is straight up a dogger pass. I don't know, man. I'm going to go with Ike, man. I think Ike can hurt him and put him away. I just think every time Prachnio gets hit, I'm nervous he's going down. The reason that that fight was even close was Prachnio outstruck Khalil Roundtree 2-1, but every time Roundtree landed, Prachnio was reacting and grimacing and just I would never bet Prachnio as a minus 200. So it's a dogger pass. I'm not betting Ike at all, but you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to take Prachnio, but God, this is a dogger pass.
Woo!
So unconfident. This is not what people turn to the channel for me to say, I'm taking Ike and then change my mind. I just can't take Ike Villanueva here. I get he beat Vinicius Moreira, but that's Vinicius Moreira. I gotta take Prachnio, but not confident at all, and I could definitely see Ike getting a finish.
I really thought we were gonna go 4 for 4, which that might have been the first time we've ever gone 4 for 4.
That must have been the feeling I got. I had to get that out there.
It's like you said, once again, this is one of those fights where
nasty fight. This should be an LFA.
Oh man, dude,
that's not fair. Prachnio's not that bad. He was good before the UFC. Just in the UFC, Prachnio has not looked up to caliber. I don't know if it's USADA drug tests. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
but
because his body definitely looks different than it used to. That's a fact. His body definitely looks different.
And USADA is not in any other organization.
Yeah.
So these guys who are on the sauce, in all seriousness, if they're coming over here, that's what happens.
Mm-hmm. No, for real though. And Brajniak, he's got like that slick karate style. Like he's got like 400 wins in karate or some crazy, number like that. And it's that karate style is really tricky because in the upper levels, like when people don't get frustrated right off the bat, it's like you have to, like that's what makes Wonder Boy so effective is that he can actually execute for 25 minutes, and that's hard to do. Like you have to be extremely focused. And the higher up you go in weight, and especially against, it's either Brajniak's going to put on a clinic or Ike is just going to eat a bunch of shots and then go in there and crack them. And that's from what I've seen from Brajniak. Like, he on paper, he should be like when it was just on paper, like I had Brajniak picked all day. But then, when you actually start watching the tape, I think Ike is just a terrible matchup for him. I think, Ike's not going to do a whole lot in the UFC. But I think on Saturday night, he's going to eat a bunch of kicks and land a big overhand right at some point. That's what I think is going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I was teetering on that. I really put Ike right about the level of Cleo Roundtree. And if Ike lands a level and number of shots that Roundtree landed, he could definitely put him away. Roundtree almost did. So
yeah,
I'm not hating that this is our first disagreement. I'm not bending it from any perspective at all. No way. Neither one of these guys is getting my money. But first disagreement of the night, Ike Villanueva for Bryan.
I had to go with the dad bod. Shout out to
Hey,
dad
they
bods.
both are getting closer to dad bods, frankly.
That's fair. That is fair.
And Brajniak, the Polish power is coming back. I believe in it, buddy.
Oh, hell yeah. Hey, I
next
love
fight.
Polish power. If he wins and he says something about Polish power, I'll like fucking be a fan.
Hey, dude.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, I mean, Marcin Held went one in PFL, but, I mean, it happens. But, like, here we go. Brajniak getting him back on the winning streak. Next fight, 170, short notice replacement in Jeremiah Wells, 8-2-1. 34-and-a-half-year-old taking on Warley Alves. I am so bad at picking Warley Alves fights. I'll get to that in a second, though. Jeremiah Wells, 8-2-1 record. 34 years old, as I said. 5'9", but a 75-inch reach. Playing on Renzo Gracie Philly. Currently on a 2-fight win streak from CFFC, where he defeated a couple guys I haven't really heard of. Marco Smallman in his last fight. He rear naked choked. His last loss was to Vinicius de Jesus, who I am familiar with. Pretty decent guy in the regional scene, but kind of at the top level, doesn't get it done. But overall, don't recognize a whole lot of the names on his record here. Jason Norwood, I do recognize, 18-5, solid win there. Overall, Jeremiah Wells, very well-rounded. Has taken his time to get to the UFC. Was supposed to fight Miguel Baeza last year, and I believe Miguel Baeza was deemed unfit. So he's been looking for a fight since September of last year, and he's finally getting his chance at a debut on short notice for whatever reason against Warley Alves, 14-4 for the 30-year-old Ultimate Fighter winner out of X-Gym. Came off that very impressive performance against Munir Lazez, but it was a first-round finish for Munir Lazez, or against Munir Lazez, I should say. When Warley gets out of the first round, he turns into dust, man. Against Randy Brown, got triangle choked, which is crazy to me. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in Warley Alves and got triangle choked pretty handily. Then against James Krause, who is not a 170er, came in on very short notice and ended up putting him away in the second round. Also, don't love seeing that.
To be fair, James Krause, he's fought at 85 before. James Krause is kind of all over the place.
Yeah, James Krause is wild, man.
But I agree, he should be at 55.
Yeah, he should be at 55. And it was still short notice either way, but this is a hard one for me to kind of get a super good read on because of Warlley Alves mostly. He just shows up and kind of, if Jeremiah can kind of spread him a little bit and start pushing this into the second, third round, push the pace a little bit, I think he can tire out Warlley, but Warlley looks like he's refocused coming back here after the Lizez fight, but it was a 2-minute win in the first round. What happens when he gets out of the 2 minutes? So far, we've seen these struggles there, but I gotta go with Warlley Alves here. Still, Wells 34, almost 35 years old. I'm not sure he's really faced anybody to the level of Warlley, and Warlley has faced guys similar to Wells. So I could see Wells greasing out a decision, just like a lot of fights on this card. But I'm gonna go with Warlley, and I think Warlley gets the first round finish. Maybe doesn't even have to worry about it. So I'll go with Warlley. And if you're picking Warlley, you're hoping for a first round finish because it gets sweaty after that. So.
Man, dude, I'll tell you, this one was a tough one for me. You know, Warlley, you know, like you said, I mean, experience, you can't even, like, really, because, I mean, CFFFC is, like, one of the best regional promotions in the country. You know what I'm saying? And so when I saw my guy, you know, he was fighting at CFFC, I was like, all right, this guy's going to be legit. But then, you know, it's like you look a little bit deeper. You're like, wait a minute, I don't know who these guys are. And you're just like, oh, you know, this guy looks like a brick house, but, you know, he's kind of fighting
questionable level of opponents.
Questionable levels of opponents. You know, Warlley, you know, we got, even though it's tough, Brazil, you know, that's another tough fighter. You know, he's had great wins.
He beat Colby Covington.
He beat Colby Covington. It's like, what?
Finished him.
Like,
again, first round Warlley is dangerous, man.
Dude, especially if he can get his arm around your neck, man.
Yeah, his guillotine is vicious. I just don't think Wells has faced anybody that has expertise.
No, 110%. But it's like you said. I mean, Warlley, I feel like he should be a lot better than his record shows, but I think, you know, just because my man is 34, this is a shot, and it's like, if you're gonna upset someone, Warlley's the kind of person to upset. You know what I'm saying? It's like you said, if you can survive that first round, then you have a legitimate shot of winning. And I just always, even though things are like kind of stacked in Warlley's favor, it's hard for me to like go with the one hitter quitter, one round and done kind of guy. So this is our second disagreement.
Ooh. He's going with Jeremiah Wells.
I'm going with Wells, man. I'm going with Wells.
I like it.
Disagreement.
I like it.
This might be an easy one for me to regret on the night of the fights, but you know,
or it might feel real good. Don't back off.
It might feel real good. I'm not backing off my pick. I'm never. Once I
can tell you, there'll be a lot of people betting Jeremiah Wells if this gets out of the first round live betting.
Yeah, I believe it.
Jeremiah Wells plus 190 underdog. So honestly, the books are giving him a decent respect for being a short notice against a guy of Warlley's level. They're definitely cautious. They're aware of Warlley's tendencies here. Warlley still the favorite, but minus 225. Not bad, but yeah, I'm nervous about this one. This is one I'll just watch, and we'll just be keeping track of it for the tallies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't hate the pick. I didn't have the balls to do it, but you did. 170 we're staying at here with Michel Prazeres back from his USADA 2-year USADA suspension against Shavkat Rakhmonov, the Kazakhstani, who's 26 years old. Looks like he's about 46 years old, but it's just it's just his face. 6'1", 77-inch reach. So right off the bat, that sticks out for me. For the welterweight, out of Uzbekistan now. He was born in Uzbekistan. Now he's fighting out of Kazakhstan. Coming off that guillotine choke win of Alex Oliveira in his UFC debut. Before that, was on M1 scene, looked really good over there, getting finishes. Sambo veteran, very, very good fighter. And just kind of got held up against the cage a little bit against Alex Oliveira, however, and that's how Michel Prazeres is going to fight you. So definitely assume that Shavkat's been working on that, but Shavkat's a very long, thin welterweight going up against a very stocky, strong, wrestling heavy Michel Prazeres. Michel Prazeres is listed at 5'6". He's probably 5'4". Very short, in fights at 170 because he missed weight at 155 so many times. And that is how he got a few of his wins, such as Mads Brunel and Des Green. He missed weight for both those. They forced him to move up to 170, got split over Zach Cummings in a really bad fight. Bartosz Fabinski, he guillotine choked inside of a minute, or just outside of a minute, I should say. And then he was a minus 450 favorite against Israel Naridev, the Australian Wonder Boy, on his UFC debut. It was Israel's only win of his, or Ismail's only win of his UFC career. He ended up getting cut. And so kind of lets you know. 2 years off for Prazeres. I assume getting drug tested regularly now.
Yeah.
I get his route to victory. I get how he could. I'm going to take Shavkat here. He looked pretty good in his debut, but was a little too controlled by Oliveira, and it makes me nervous here. But I'll take Shavkat. There's just not a lot of spots where I feel super good, but Shavkat should get this one done. But Prazeres can do what he does to a lot of fighters.
No, and man, Shavkat, dude, and this is like one of those. This is like one of those weird things because it's like, it's like until this breakdown, I hadn't heard of either one of these guys before, and they both have like outstanding records. You know what I'm saying? It's like, with that being said, I feel like Shavkat, he's younger, he has more momentum. There's not a whole lot like off the tape necessarily that besides size that like kind of differentiates these two, but when someone's younger and has like a little bit more momentum, it just kind of makes sense to me. You know what I'm saying? There's so many intangibles in this daggum fight game, and I could see it ending by choke. I mean, if he really tries to like press him up against the cage, that's a dangerous game to play when someone's good at playing defense against the cage. You know what I'm saying? The cage is really becoming more of a, you got your striking, you got your ground grappling, and then you got your cage grappling. And so if you're not minding your P's and Q's and you want to spend a whole fight against the cage, it's just like being on the ground. If you slip up for 1 second, you can end up in a pretty gnarly position. So I'm going, dude, he does. He looks so old, man.
Dude, he looks so old.
Dude, he looks so old.
26? Are you sure?
We need a birth certificate. Jeff.
Yeah. Seriously, Obama, show me your birth certificate.
Oh, man.
Yeah, by the way, Prazeres is now 39 years old and 11 months, nearly 40 years old. Speaking of ages here. 67-inch reach to a 77-inch reach, although for Prazeres, he doesn't care about that. He's grappling. Shavkat is a minus 300 favorite, one of the heaviest favorites on the card. Not loving it, honestly, at all, especially when Prazeres' route to victory is very clear and could be very frustrating to watch, frankly. So I would pass on this from a betting perspective at minus 300. I think that's a crazy price. Moving on to the featured prelim, we got Bryan's boy, Kennedy Nchukwu, who I laughed at when he picked him against Carlos Ulberg. Maybe we see another one of those replicated with Ike Villanueva coming up here. But Danilo Marquez is his opponent. Two guys with solid records, 11-2 versus 8-1. This is a really good matchup, in my opinion, at 205. That's a tricky one. I will break down the African Savage Kennedy Njoku first, 29 years old. I thought he was younger than that for some reason. But either way, definitely green in the MMA game still, but that's I don't mean that in a bad way. 6'5", 83-inch reach. That's really good. Out of Fortis MMA. 8-1. He's on 2-fight win streak. They have been tricky. The Ulberg fight was taking quite a few shots, but was right in there the whole time. Didn't back down. Showed really good toughness. Started landing some really great shots of his own, finishing him in the second round with hooks. Before that, he lost to Darko Stosic, but Darko kicked him in the balls twice. Lost 3-4 times, I believe. Lost 2 points and ended up losing a 28-29 decision, Darko did, because of that. So, or 28-27, whatever it is that where, 28-27.
He lost because it kicked him in the balls.
Right, twice, and lost 2 points, not just one, but 2 points. Kennedy's UFC debut after the Contender Series was against Paul Craig, where he was winning that fight against Paul Craig until the last 40 seconds. So we know Paul Craig, no shame there. I mean, Kennedy learned a lesson there, learned a lesson, I think, from the Darko fight as well. And then Ulberg really, his gas looked good, took the best shots from a professional boxer and came forward. I think that's commendable. Long reach, 83 inches, getting better, tough to take down. Danilo Marquez, I don't know what to think about this guy. 11-2, 35 years old, 6'6", 77.5-inch reach, so about 6-inch reach disadvantage, even though he is only a couple inches shorter. Out of Brazil, he's on a 4-fight win streak, 2 of which coming in the octagon. Although to Hadis Ibrahimov and Mike Rodriguez, he did finish in the second round, but man, Mike Rodriguez has been shitting the bed left and right. So I don't really know what to think about that. I think Marquez has to make this real dirty, real gross, grimy, be constantly kind of attached to Kennedy, eliminating that reach. And it's a slow-paced fight. I don't know if he can do that. But I don't know how much I trust Kennedy Njoku either. I get he used a Homer Simpson defense in the last fight, but I mean, I don't think Marquez is going to be interested in trying to knock him out. I think he's going to try to grab for that single leg, which often is there against Kennedy. And if he gets Kennedy on the bottom, Kennedy could have some trouble. I don't know. I'll go with Kennedy to be able to stay on the feet. But this is the Apex, smaller octagon, easier to get against the cage, get control. And Danilo doesn't really give up once he gets those wrist locks, the hands around the waist. He really kind of works for tricky takedowns. And I just wonder, Kennedy always seems a little bit green in these fights. And Ulberg was a great performance. It's a very different matchup. So I don't know. I'm nervous. Well, I'll take Kennedy.
Oh, you taking Kennedy? Oh shit. We're on the same page. I can't pick against Kennedy, right? Like, it's like when the hand is hot, you got to keep on going with it.
I hope he knocks him out though, because I'm just like, I don't know what it is about Marquez. I don't like him. Grant, I don't really got nothing against him. I just don't think he's good enough to, Kennedy, the African Savage, that is probably the best pick I've ever made in all of my life. Oh boy!
And
he's never gonna pick against Kennedy Njoku. Got it.
No. I will pick against Kennedy Njoku one day, but it has to be someone that I look at and I'm like, okay, that guy can beat Kennedy Njoku. You know what I'm saying? Because Kennedy, the tough thing with him is that he's like a physical specimen, you know what I'm saying? And so you don't necessarily have to be a physical specimen to beat him, but you have to bring something to the table that I just don't see his opponent bringing right now. If he lost, if he got grinded out, I could see that, but I also see Kennedy pulling it. I mean, Kennedy, he's one of those guys that it doesn't look pretty, but he just figures out a way to win. And so I think he's going to figure out a way to win in this fight as well. And then get matched up with some higher level competition. Then it's going to be like, maybe I can't find a way to win. But, that's for another podcast in the future.
Yeah. This is going to be a close fight, I think. But I agree. I do like Kennedy's tools. The Apex makes me a little more nervous because I think that is an advantage for the grappler. But Kennedy, a minus 125 favorite, very close line here, plus 105 on Danilo Marquez. So the odds are expecting this to be close. I think, I'm okay with taking a shot on Kennedy at the slight favorite money just because it's priced so well, so priced so closely. So I'm trusting Kennedy here to get the win, but I could definitely see Danilo grinding one out. So it takes us to the main card here. Renato Moicano, 14-4-1, taking on Jai Herbert, 10-2, coming off a really nasty nasty KO. Jai suffered against Francisco Trinaldo, who did miss weight by 6 pounds. But Francisco Trinaldo connected in the third round after being down 2 rounds to none. And put him away pretty viciously. Both of Jai's losses have come via KOs, so do have a little bit of a question on the chin here. Reese McKee was the other knockout inside of 2 minutes, and we've seen Reese McKee. Doesn't have that crazy power that I would describe it as. But Jai Herbert, definitely a finisher himself, a lot of KOs. Has a very nice reach of 77 inches as well. 77 inches is the same reach as Danilo Marquez had in the last fight. So this guy's fighting at 155. That's definitely a huge tool. And definitely is the way I think he gets the win here. But I just think as long as Moicano isn't stupid here and just stays – if Moicano tries to stay on the feet and brawl, I think there's a good chance Moicano can get cracked. I do kind of question his chin. He's been knocked out, I believe, 3 times in 4 fights, 4 losses. But 32 years old, still well within his prime. Was knocked out by Chan Sung Jung, was knocked out by Aldo, and knocked out by Fiziev. So all very good guys. Did submit Damir Hadzovic inside of a minute. I just think that his other best one was Cub Swanson. Calvin
Kattar.
Yeah, Calvin Kattar, but that was very early on in his career in the UFC, but still went over Calvin Kattar. Moicano only loses to the top of the tops, like Fiziev, who's an incredible stand-up guy, but Chan Sung Jung, Aldo, and Brian Ortega. I'm going to lean Moicano. I think Moicano fighting on ATT has been on ATT for a while. I do understand that, but I think he uses his grappling, uses his wrestling, takes it there a little more, and possibly gives Herbert his first submission loss. But I'm going to take Moicano either way.
Man, I'll tell you what. And this is like, this will probably come back to bite me because it's like, since we started doing these breakdowns, I've kind of learned to like make certain rules. It's like, you always take the UFC experience over the out of the UFC experience.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being, and like I said, it's like Moicano, he's had some great wins over some like really, solid guys. He's been doing it for a minute. But when you have a suspect chin, like, and I don't know the science behind it, but it just seems, that like when a dude's chin goes, a dude's chin goes. You know what I'm saying? You got this.
They both seem to have suspect chins.
They both seem to have suspect chins, but and granted, Moicano's been fighting a higher level of competition, but I mean,
say it.
Hey man, don't rebuttal me. Don't rebuttal me in the middle of my.
Say it. Say it.
I'm taking Jai by knockout.
Oh,
that's it.
my God.
Oh no, what's happening? I don't know, but I'm taking. And I could totally see him getting absolutely worked in this fight. I really could.
I think the minus 2.5 is a great bet in this fight. Minus 2.5 rounds.
Minus 2.5 rounds. That's interesting.
Think somebody's getting finished on one of these sides in this fight.
I agree with that because I mean, like you said, both. I think
both are suspect. Both are
suspects. I think my man Moicano, he's been fighting tougher guys. I think his chin might be a little bit more suspect, not because he was born that way, just because he's been hit by better guys harder.
Yeah, damage is damage, man. He's been
mollywalled. Damage. Yeah, I'm going my guy Jai here.
That's wild.
Come through for your boy. We'll see what happens.
He is thirsty for another Kennedy feeling, and he's just going.
Dude, hey, you know what? You know how we were really similar, and then like.
Yeah, well, this card is too close. This makes sense. I get it. Next fight here, Nicholas Dalby versus Tim Means at 170. This is a solid fight. Two guys who've kind of been through the ringer in MMA and come out still fighting really well. 19-3-1 Nicholas Dalby taking on 31-12-1 Tim Dirty Bird Means. We'll be breaking down the Dirty Bird first. 37 years old now. 6'2", 75-inch reach. 2-fight win streak over Loreno Staropoli and Mike Perry. Mike Perry, he looked very good in that fight, and Mike Perry was the favorite. So shout out to Tim for coming through as an underdog. He did lose to Daniel Rodriguez and Nico Price, both times getting finished. Had a win over Thiago Alves in 2019, which is kind of surprising, nearly 2020. So he's beat a decent level guy, but I mean, not the most notable names here. Nicholas Dalby, 19-3-1. 19-3-1 is a nicer record than he should have. He did lose to Jesse Ronson, but Jesse Ronson tested positive for marijuana, so they reversed that first round finish. But he did beat Daniel Rodriguez. That's one thing. Nicholas Dalby looked okay, though, in that fight, honestly. I don't know how he got the win. I think the judging was a little suspect there. Nicholas Dalby was outstruck pretty significantly, only got one takedown. Kind of a weird one. More impressive win in his UFC return against Alex Oliveira, for sure. I think this is going to be a very close fight. I think these guys are very well matched. This could be a possible fight of the night for me. 37 versus 36, very similar points in their careers. I think Tim Means has taken a lot more damage, and I don't think either guy has faced the craziest level of competition. I'm going to take Dalby here to eke out a decision, but I think it's going to be close. But I'll take Dalby.
Man, yeah, like you said, this whole card is just full of fights. That's just like, man, I don't see much of a future for either one of these guys as far as like, big things coming down the line. But man, this should be a fun fight. Mm-hmm. And I'm just saying right off the bat, I'm taking Dirty Bird.
Okay.
Yeah,
the honeymoon's over.
Man, I tell you what, it went south quick. But it's and you talked about it like damage. I see it more as experience that Tim Means has. I mean, granted, like the level of competition he hasn't fought hasn't been dramatically better than Dalby's, but it's been better in general. He has better wins, and I think Tim Means he had a problem with USADA where he got falsely
tainted supplement.
And how long was he out on that?
Over a year, I think. I think it was like 16 months.
And I want to say that was when he was like on a roll, so he could even have more wins if something like that, at least one more win. So, and he could be at the end of the rope right now. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going Tim Means, and not only am I going to go Tim Means, but I'm going Tim Means by finish. I'm a big Dirty Bird fan.
Yeah, no, I'm not hating that at all. Dalby's a plus 120, minus 140 on Means. Moicano is a minus 250, by the way, plus 200 on Jai Herbert. I would love that if I picked Chai Herbert. I'd be all over that, but I did not. Next fight here. Next fight here, we got 4 fights left here, and Andre Fili taking on Daniel Pineda. We've got basically the finisher versus the grimy kind of ekes out, or not ekes out, but gets those games to decisions. Daniel Pineda is the finisher here. The Pit 27-14 record. All of his wins, 27 wins, have been by finish. So that's definitely very impressive. Lost to Cub Swanson, though, in his last fight in the second round after winning the first fight before that. Beat Herbert Burns in the second round with a crucifix and elbows, which was really impressive. His fights against Amalavid Halibuliav and Jeremy Kennedy got reversed due to a marijuana test, I believe, which, again, like crazy. Ray Trujillo, he beat prior to that. Daniel Pineda, he's been around. First UFC stint didn't go too well. So far, this UFC stint, 1-1, was looking good against Swanson until he wasn't. So I think for Fili, though, Fili's just going to kind of continue to do what Fili does. 21-8 for the 31-year-old, coming off a loss to Bryce Mitchell. Beat Charles Jourdain by split, but that was a pretty clear decision for Charles Jourdain. He lost to Sadiq Youssef, beat Miles Jury, who Miles Jury is a dog I like tomorrow in Bellator. He beat Shaman Marias, a PFL guy. I don't know. I'm kind of been back and forth on this one. I don't really have a super strong read, but I guess I'll go with Andre Touchy-Feely. I think he can kind of just extend this into and win the second and third round, and the first might be up for grabs, but I don't see a finish coming from Pineda. But I mean, Pineda's tough, but so is Fili. So I think after the first round, Pineda will fade.
Man, I think Pineda is just a terrible matchup for my boy Andre, dude. Because you remember when he was like the hottest prospect in the world before he fought Cody Garbrandt, and it's just like ever since then it's just been kind of like up and down, up and down. I think Pineda, once again, this is another fight where it's like I don't see any one of these guys making super big waves later on in their career, but Pineda is just like dude's a dog, you know what I'm saying? I mean, Cub put him away, but like you said before that, I mean, he was
the leg kicks could be a real key.
And I mean, and Cub put him away, but I mean, it was like it was a couple of right hands. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it was like a one-hitter quitter necessarily. No. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I mean, this is like another. It's a fun fight, man, dude. Like a lot of these fights are just fun. But
yeah, I'm not gonna bet this one.
Yeah, but I think Pineda, it just comes in too hot and heavy. Yeah, he doesn't do amazing against guys who come in super hot and heavy. And so yeah, I got Pineda in this fight, man. By finish.
Another disagreement. Plus 190 on Pineda, minus 225 on Andre Fili. Crazy odds, in my opinion. Fili should be way closer regardless. I will not be betting that. I will sit back and watch. Next fight at 135, one of the best kept secrets in the UFC because they refuse to promote this guy for some reason. Raoni Barcelos, 16-1, taking on Timur Valiev, 17-2. This is a tough fight for me to get a read on. I'll tell you that much. Timur Valiev out of Jackson Winklejohn did come off with that finish where he got finished against Trevin Jones. It was turned to a no contest. Rebounded from that with a decision win over Martin Day, which you definitely want to see him finishing a guy of Martin Day's caliber. But he did what he had to do. He just wrestled him, controlled him, knew where he could beat him, and did so. Valiev is just a very solid Russian stand-up fighter for the most part. Has some grappling and some wrestling, but doesn't really use it as much. Raoni Barcelos, not going to be able to get taken down. He's going to be a big 135er. Always is 16-1, as I said. 5'7", 67-inch reach, but again, thick, but 34 years old. So Bryan Hizzo, RBT, and Raoni is a good, kept secret, but his wins in the UFC were Kurt Halabaugh, Chris Gutierrez, Carlos Huichin, Said Nurmagomedov, which was his debut, but so good, and Khalid Taha. So I'm just not crazy with that level of competition, but I'm not crazy with what I saw Valiev in his debut in the UFC. I'm back and forth. I'm going to go with Barcelos because I got to. He's my boy, but I am not confident in this pick at all. It's another minus 225 favorite. I don't like it.
Yeah, I tell you what, if anything, this is probably the two toughest names to pronounce, like, matched up together. I mean, holy cow.
Yep.
But with that being said, and you brought up a fair point. Before they got matched up on this card, I had no idea who either one of these guys were. And I'm a professional fighter, and I love watching fights. And both these guys are in the UFC with terrific records. It's just like, man, dude, that's crazy.
You're going to put them on in the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah. Now they're in the middle of the afternoon. So it's like one of these guys, they both have outstanding records. They both are outstanding fighters. And one of these guys is going to beat, like, that should be a statement kind of win. But I guess maybe it's because no one knows who either one of these guys are. They're just like, you know what? It's a great win, but you're going to have a great win when no one's watching. It's frustrating. But, once again, really excited to watch the fight. It should be really interesting to see how it plays out. With that being said, the honeymoon is back on. Slight edge to my boy. You're gonna have to help me with that last Barcelona.
Raoni Barcelos.
Because once again, it's tough, man. I mean, they're both really good. You know what I'm saying? And there hasn't been anything that you can watch that really makes one guy necessarily stand head and shoulders above the other guy.
The Trevin Jones knockout of Valiev is a little bit concerning.
That's a little bit concerning, but I mean, Trevin Jones is he's a motherfucker, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Trevin Jones, he's a motherfucker. So, but, with that being said, I'm going with my boy Barcelos. I just pushed
Barcelos. Minus 225 favorite. We're on to the co-main event. This co-main event is a co-main event. At heavyweight, Ovince St. Preux taking on Tanner Boser. First of all, if you're at all a fan of MMA memes and you're not seeing the Ovince St. Preux, everybody waiting for the weigh-ins for Ovince St. Preux's ass memes, you're just missing out on a serious part of the internet. But we got heavyweight Ovince St. Preux taking on Tanner Boser. Tanner Boser just lost a couple weeks ago to Latifi. Came out and said, I want another fight. I frankly thought he won the Latifi fight, but was on the short end of that one. The thing is, though, Tanner Boser taking this next fight hasn't left quarantine, hasn't left the hotel bubble, and it's just basically staying in there for a prolonged period of time to get to this second fight here. So that's definitely an X factor. I kind of circled right away, but he's definitely coming in very hungry. Didn't take a lot of damage against Latifi, 29 years old. Before the Latifi fight, lost to Andrei Arlovsky. I frankly think he could have won both those fights. So then it's just getting to a point where we don't really know how good Boser is. Got to finish his spits to start out his career. Went to a decision with Gane where it was, I think, pretty competitive, and then beat Felipe Lins and Rafael Pessoa, 2 trash cans. And he lost to Ilir Latifi in his last fight. Ovin St. Preux had the one fight at heavyweight against Ben Rothwell. He did drop Ben Rothwell a couple times, but other than that, didn't look great. But I just don't think Ovin St. Preux is a heavyweight. I don't know how to really put it. 38 years old. He's not particularly quicker either as he's moving up, so it doesn't really help him on that end either. Got pretty worked by Jamal Hill in his last performance as well. Ben Rothwell did get a split, but still, I think Tanner Boser kind of just leg kicks him, body, works the body, hits him with some boxing, and moves around the cage. Goes to a decision. Boser.
Dude, OSP is one of the weirdest fighters in the game, man.
Strange.
Dude, so strange. You know what I'm saying? They renamed the submission after him. The Von Plu is
the St. Preux choke.
It is the St. Preux choke, dude. But yeah, I hate and it's weird when guys move up, because a lot of guys are doing it now, and there's this big movement. If you ever listen to Joe Rogan, you hear him talk about it anytime he talks about MMA. Where he thinks weight cuts should be eliminated. It's like cutting weight is the cost you got to pay to be the boss. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, this is like the bare minimum. Like amount of sacrifice you have to make to be the best is like cutting weight. You know what I'm saying? With that being said, I don't think Tanner is necessarily the guy that make Ovin St. Preux. Like, Tanner isn't like the biggest heavyweight in the world, so
no.
It's
he's gonna be quicker than St. Preux, I think.
Dude, he might be quicker than St. Preux.
He will be.
That's a funny thing to think about. It's like I want to pick St. Preux so bad.
Oh, me too.
Because it's like I feel like Tanner, he just needs to like take a break for a little while, go back to his team.
Yeah, he's gonna be in quarantine this whole time, not training having to train in the kind of bubble type environment, which I don't know what it's like in Vegas at this point, but.
Well, and like you said, he just came off 2 close decision losses. I mean, I don't know if you would consider the Andre Arlovsky.
No, they're both very close.
Yes. He could have won the Andre fight, but like
he did things to lose both also.
No, it's fair. It's like I gave Andre that fight going to the decision, but at the same time, I was like, I didn't think Andre should have won that fight. Like, I gave him the decision because he did enough, but I was like, Tanner let him get that win. You know what I'm saying? And against St. Preux, I think going up to heavyweight, Tanner has knocked out heavyweights before. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a bad matchup. Like you said, it was like something I wasn't even thinking about before you said it. But yeah, it's like St. Preux's looking slower the heavier it gets. It's just St. Preux going up to heavyweight just doesn't seem like the move to me. You know what I'm saying? No. People hit harder up there. One of the biggest things he has at light heavyweight is his size advantage. He doesn't have that anymore at heavyweight. I just don't think it's the move. I think Tanner knocks him out, to be honest. I think Tanner knocks him out and knocks him out early.
Yeah. Minus 175 favorite for Tanner Boser would be a huge win regardless. And, we'll see. I think on a card like this, Boser is somewhat trustable, but still I'm not trusting him crazy. Main event time. Fantastic. Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov. We have 8-0 versus 33-8.
Woo!
So, that is a 5-1 experience edge for Volkov. 6'7" to 6'4". However, Cyril Gane actually has a reach advantage at 83 inches to 81 inches for Volkov. So that's interesting. Gane with one of the best jabs in all the game. Volkov has looked very good, but we kind of look a little deeper into Volkov, and let's hold off before maybe we're crowning him the next heavyweight contender, in my opinion. He is coming off of a finish against Alistair Overeem. Overeem was pretty done and broke his nose early in that fight. And second round win for Volkov. Before that, took Walt Harris to the second round. We know it happens to Walt Harris after the first round. He got taken down 15 times against Curtis Blades in their fight. But Curtis Blades is Curtis Blades. Before that, Volkov had the best takedown defense in the heavyweight division at over 85%. So lost to Derek Lewis after winning basically 3 rounds. Lost to Derek Lewis in the last 11 seconds. Beat Greg Hardy. Beat Verdum. Beat Stefan Struve. He's had some good wins. Don't get me wrong. 2-fight win streak, though. Not sure how great those guys are. Cyril Gane is just a pure tactician, in my opinion. He really, I think, has the potential to be like a champion one day. I just think he has one of the best jabs in all of MMA. 83-inch reach. He's gonna have a reach advantage here on Volkov. I think he's gonna have a technique and speed advantage. Fighting out of MMA Factory, 31 years old, entering that prime now. Hasn't lost, obviously, ever, but inside the UFC, wins over Pessoa, Mays, fine. The win over Bozer was pretty impressive to me, as well as the finish of Rosenstruck. And then I see the finish of Dos Santos. I see a lot of people hate on the Rosenstruck fight, but I think technically he fought it brilliant. The jab was working. He did not need to put himself at risk, and he knew it and got to that decision. I don't hate it at all. I think this is an extremely close fight. The experience of Volkov cannot be looked away from, and unlike a Junior Dos Santos, he is nowhere near toast, I think, with regards to his durability. I think Volkov is very hard to take down, and on the feet, this is going to be razor close. And I could really see Volkov taking over in the later rounds. But, I mean, the thing I liked about seeing Gane get the decision in his last fight is we saw him go 5 rounds, and he didn't slow down either. So, these guys match up really well. I think this goes all 5 rounds. It's going to be a close decision, in my opinion. I'm going to lean Gane ever so slightly, but I'm nervous.
Man, I tell you what, when we first started doing this, I was really nervous. I thought we were going to all have, similar picks all throughout.
No, the honeymoon's over.
The honeymoon is over. I'm taking Alexander Volkov to get a decisive decision victory. I don't hate it. Now, and, I feel like I've said this about every fight. I could totally see Gane coming out and not necessarily putting on a clinic, but just putting on an outstanding performance. And because he's heavyweight, we don't get to see a whole lot of really technical, tactical things going on. These are probably the most technical, tactical strikers in the division. If you're just talking about striking. Volkov, even in the last fight he lost against Curtis Blades. I mean, even that fight, he started storming, coming on pretty strong.
5th round, he won.
Yeah, and he was Curtis Blades couldn't even talk in the post-fight interview because he was so busted up. You know what I'm saying? And he's a big dude, hits hard. He's technical as all get out. It should have beat Derek Lewis.
Yeah, he should have.
And I'm happy he didn't, because what Derek Lewis said after that fight was absolutely classic.
Yeah, it was legendary.
Legendary, will go down in history. But
I know.
I mean, when you talk about heavyweight fights, there's never really a heavyweight fight where you're like, oh man, I can't wait to see these two heavyweights have this technical exchange. And this is one of those. A lot. It does, especially when it comes to striking, and so I'm pretty stoked for this one. I got Volkov winning, but I'm just excited to watch the fight, man. I got Volkov by decision, though.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if either one of these guys gets a finish here, which is hard to say in a 5-round heavyweight fight, but they're just they're really sound. Volkov, the plus 130 underdog. Man, minus 155 up the Gane on a 5-1 experience disadvantage for Gane. I mean, Gane has beat Rosenstruck. He's beat Dos Santos, and a few others. But yeah, I'm nervous about this one. So Yeah, that is interesting. We are to the end of the card here. I believe we had 4 to 5 disagreements again on this card, which does honestly make sense. And just, a reminder for anybody tuning late, Bryan will be fighting this Tuesday on The Ultimate Fighter representing Team Volkanovski. So definitely a shout out to Bryan. We're all definitely rooting you on, man. And hopefully it's not an awkward breakdown next week for me. But if so, I can deal with it. But either way, anything else you need to plug or mention before we take off for the night?
No, to ESPN Plus.
ESPN Plus, 9 p.m. on Tuesday, which is Tuesday is the I believe the 30 or 29th. So yeah, next Tuesday either way. Whenever that is, ESPN Plus, 9 p.m. Ultimate Fighter. Bryan Battle will be taking on Kerman on there. And keep checking out Aaron the Dog MMA. We got the Bellator PFL breakdown up already. Next week we'll be back with UFC with Bryan and I on Thursday around this time of 8:30 p.m. Eastern time.
And is that the Dustin McGregor card?
No, one more. Is it next week?
No, it's one more week.
One more week.
That's the 7th. Okay.
Yep, one more week. But yeah, for Aaron the Dog, for Bryan Pooh Bear Battle, keep taking care of each other out there, everybody, and cash those bets. This is going to be a tough weekend, but we got the PFL and Bellator to build as well. So keep taking care of each other out there. Thank you all for joining us. Peace out.
See you.